So we're here at the install location. We're gonna go to the garage in a second, but not this car, not that car. We're installing it on this one. You're gonna wanna start with the lights. So if you have extra people helping you out, you're going to first take out the front tub. This is a bit different for the Model X. There's a lot of different panels. I'll show you how to put them on later, but you need to remove all of these first. From there, we just cut the zip ties holding our Underglow together. It's a long process, so just be prepared for that and make sure you have some wire cutters. You're gonna wanna test the LEDs before you actually put them in the car. It's super important because you want to make sure they all light up. Now, even though you do this, you can still encounter some issues later, like we do. We actually have a dead LED strip, and we only found this out a few days after we installed this, so stay tuned for that. But you're going to want to find a ground bolt. We use the one kind of near this area, and then you're also going to want to tap to your 16 volt. From there, you're going to want to get the Blue Ghost app. You're going to want to search for your little box, and then you're going to connect to it. Once you connect to it, you can create a show. Pick solid so you can actually look at all the LEDs, and then make a good color, so like orange, because you're going to be looking at these for a second, and then look at all of them. Make sure all of them are good. Once you do that, you're pretty good to install. Now you're just going to want to reroute the Ghost controller for better cable management. So we're trying to currently figure out how we're going to mount the Underglow. The puck goes in right here. Our main issue is right here. We want to mount it along right here because it's perfect with these little flaps. It would mount right here in the middle. But right here, if you put pressure on the puck, it kind of goes out like this. We don't know how thin that light strip is going to be. For the install, since she had side skirts, if you do, by the way, want side skirts, remember that they're going to take up some clearance on the bottom. So if you do Underglow, you're going to have to compensate for that. Anyways, we decided to just mount the LED strips on the battery pack. And that's not a problem at all. In fact, they might stick better there since it's just metal. It's mostly flat metal, and it will have better adhesion. So that's what we're going to do on the side. In the front, it's like our other Underglow videos. Check those out. In the front, we just did it the same way that we always did it. You basically line it up, you put tape on it, just some very basic tape that can hold it to the actual car. And this is temporary because you're just getting a feel for where it's going to be. Once you're happy with that, you're going to take a little fish wire. You're going to fish it through a drilled hole that's a little bit bigger than ½ inch, probably I want to say like almost an inch. You can even make the hole 1 inch. It doesn't have to be that big, but you need to feed these wires through as well as like a fishing cable just to get them up into the front tub. Once you do that, put it to the Blue Ghost controller, turn the lights on, make sure everything is set where you want it to be, and then you can take your temporary tape off, you can take the backing behind the LED strips off and mount it to the car. And that's basically it for the front. You're going to want to drill 2 holes on the side of the car next to where the wheels are, so you can tuck the wires in as well and then run them along the wheel well to get to the side of the car. This is just us fishing the wire through the wheel well of the car. You're going to have to take the whole thing off, at least for the Model X that we did, or at least most of it off, and kind of get underneath the car. We were able to route the front one in no problem, but the back one, we, like I said, had to take off most of the wheel well to connect and actually cinch it down properly, because some people don't install Underglow properly and the actual wire falls out of the wheel well, which is not good. You need to either put it in between 2 clips so it stays in that area, or zip tie it to something. That's what we always do. Back to the fishing wire. Once you put it through the hole, you're gonna need someone else to maybe wiggle the wire, get a flashlight in there, you'll see it, and you need to somehow pull that out. Once you pull it out, it's pretty simple. You'll have someone push from the bottom while you pull up and out, and then you can connect the black wires to the Ghost controller. So we just finished wiping down the side of the car. We're mounting it to the battery pack because on the Model X, if you look at it, there is absolutely nowhere to mount it along here. You have these, which are for like bolt hole covers. You have these amazing, by the way, they're carbon fiber side skirts. Awesome. But there's nowhere to mount it unless you mount it along the actual side skirt, which would not look very good. If you look at the battery, you have this edge right here. It goes along basically the entire way super consistently. So we're gonna mount it along this side all the way to the back from the front. You're gonna want to remove the clips in the wheel well. That's pretty simple. Just look in the wheel well and remove all the clips that you need to get easy access. Now it is a bit harder to do the back part of the front wheel well. There's one clip that it needs to go on, as well as line up with the fenders for it to go back in properly. You do also need enough clearance to route the wire through, so there's just a lot of variables. It took us a while to do this, both sides, so the left and the right side. For some reason it took us a lot lot longer on the right side, but we do it right. You have to make sure that this cable is tied to something. So all the vibrations from the road and everything, you're going to knock the cable around. You don't want it flying out of the wheel well, because that could be really, really bad if it ends up in your tire, getting all spun around and just ripping apart your underglow. You don't want that, and you might mess up your tire, possibly your wheels. Anyways, always zip tie or mount down your underglow wires. It does take a lot longer, but it's so worth it. I can't stress that enough. The rear wheel wells are actually the easiest, believe it or not. The way that the clips go into the wheel well, it's super easy to line up the actual wire that connects the underglow. As a matter of fact, if you want a life hack, what you can do is drill into the wheel well lining and then put a zip tie around the underglow if you really want it to hold steady. Now, you could see the zip tie from the outside, but like your wheel well is basically gonna be over your tire. No one really looks down there, and it doesn't even look that bad if you use black zip ties. So this is just the process of us wiring from the side to the back, wiring for our wheel wells. We weren't able to drill in here. You have to tuck the wire, and that's because with the Model X, the amount of things that are inside of it, if you drill, you're gonna hit something. So what we had to do was just tuck, because there's a lot of metal plates instead of just plastic ones underneath. So you don't want to drill into metal, and we were able to just tuck, wire everything together. It's not that big of a deal. If you are super concerned, you could use like clips with screws or some 3M tape, but it really isn't that bad, especially in the back. The back is pretty much the easiest. You can see us removing the tape and putting the LED strip for our underglow onto the metal frame of the battery. Now you'll notice it's not completely straight, and that's basically because the metal isn't flush, fully straight. There's some parts that kind of round out a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. Just note them when you are initially putting on your underglow so you aren't in for any surprises. We also use a tape measure to measure the difference between each side so that the underglow is strictly in the middle. We're in the wheel well now, so the back wheel well is super easy to route the wires through and then connect them, and we'll put the wheel well back on later because we have to move to the front. Front is such a huge headache for this Model X. I hope yours goes a lot better, but to actually route the wire cleanly and have it stick properly using zip ties, you're gonna have a bit of a trouble time. You can jack the car up, though I don't think it would help that much. I just went underneath it myself. I was able to fit, barely, just barely. My nose was very dirty from smacking the bottom a lot. We eventually did do it though, and here's a Plaid accelerations for staying for this long.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Oh! 80s.
Enough funny business. I'm gonna put on some tunes while you watch how to install or reinstall the front tub area.
That's where it's divided. Goes dead smack in the middle and the top.
Basically done. You see, underglow is perfect. Everything is tucked. Everything is nice. We're hiding everything behind the clips, so you saw that whole process. Car is extremely raised right now. We didn't need to use any jacks, and it looks absolutely perfect.